welcome to the show. My name is Joy Harrington. I am your host, and today I want to share with you some best practices that are really helping me in 2022 to have that masculine structure that I need to support being able to be in my feminine and actually make shit happen, right? I've talked a lot about masculine and feminine on this podcast. And for so many women, they have been stuck in an unhealthy version of masculine that has burnt them out, that has made them scared of setting goals, that has made them shy away from a hustle. And then they go to the other extreme, which is total feminine, which is no structure, no routine, no goals, no vision, no purpose. And when we get stuck in that, we start to feel really lost. We start to feel really blah. We start to feel just like, I don't know what I'm doing with my life, right? And you kind of have to go from one extreme to the other in order to know the difference and in order to figure out a healthy middle for you. But we can get stuck there. And I want to share some best practices to help you in balancing the two so that you can approach your life, your business, your goals from a place that serves you, that has you excited, that has you motivated. Because let's be honest, I'm 12 weeks pregnant. I've been a little tired. I've been a little sick. And most days I would just lay in bed if I let myself. And yeah, there's a time and a place for that. And some of that has happened. But I also know that I'm happiest when I actually have something I'm working on. I'm happiest when I have a purpose, when I have a vision, when I have a mission, when I have some structure, when I have some things in my life that force me to get out of bed, that force me to get out of the house, that force me to go do things to make an impact, right? I'm guessing you feel the same way. So let me say there's always seasons that we go through. And when you are up leveling, typically this has happened every time I've pivoted in my business and every time I've up leveled in my business, it's always precedented by a season of pruning and falling away and getting really quiet. And it feels really scary because you're like, I don't know what's going on and I don't know what's coming next. And I've been in one of those seasons and it went hand in hand with getting pregnant. And I knew that it would, which is kind of what scared me about being open to getting pregnant because I was like, I know what this is going to bring. This is going to bring a whole new rebirth. And that's going to be beautiful. And it's going to be really scary because it's unknown and it's not really in my control. And it led to the last 3 months of getting real quiet and a lot falling away and a lot of things, a lot of doors closing. And I knew that would happen. And I always know, like, hey, this is preparing something else that's coming that's better. But it can still give you kind of a funk. So between that funk, because of the season that I was in, and then also we can get stuck in our feminine, right? It can really kind of get you into this spiral where you start spiraling, you don't feel good, you're no longer inspired, you don't know what you're doing with your life, right? So there's some things that I did to really help myself get out of that, to start having a vision, to start having a purpose, to start having that structure in my day so that I could feel better, so that I could feel more confident, so that I could feel happier, so that I could feel like I had a mission. Even if I was still waiting for that thing to come, I was still preparing myself so that I could be ready for that thing to come, because that's our job. We still might be waiting. We still might be wanting that vision to come through and it's not yet, but we get to prepare ourselves to make sure we're in a place to receive, right? We want to make sure we're in a place to receive that vision. And you're not going to be in a place to receive that vision if you're stuck in bed watching Netflix. You're just not. So a lot of what has changed in my business in the last couple of years and has led to big things is actually being in a place and different places to receive what was coming for me. And that might even be going to networking groups and meeting people, right? That might be whatever it was. It was just being in places to receive. It's different than, hey, I need to go make this happen. I need to go hustle. I need to go find the people. It's more like, where do I need to place myself? What structure can I place in my life so that I'm in the best place where I feel the best and I'm in different situations and I'm open and I'm meeting people, and then I can just see what happens because of that. It's a completely different feeling and I love it. So, quick things that help me with this. Number one, stop avoiding the numbers. When I get in this place, I stop looking at the numbers because I tell myself I get stuck on this story of this is the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of the end. This is the beginning of everything falling apart. This is the beginning of me going down in flames. This is the beginning of me losing everything. Anybody else? When I get into this season of pruning, the season of falling away, and the season of being too much of my feminine, which again, there's a time and a place for that. And I think they go hand in hand. This story starts to go on repeat. Oh my God, this is the beginning of the end. Oh my God, everything's falling apart. Oh my God, you're losing everything that you've built, right? Nothing is working anymore. No matter what you do, you're failing. It's this horrible story that goes on replay. And so because of that, because that's the lens that I'm looking through, number one, if I get online, I'm already discouraged before I even get online and look at the numbers because I'm already expecting crap numbers. I'm already expecting my post to suck. I'm already expecting people to not be engaging. I'm already expecting, right? It's like this doom and gloom feeling. And then I also don't look at bank numbers because I'm like, oh, I know they're going down. Like they're so much lower than before, blah, 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 blah. And I start avoiding numbers because I make them mean something about me. Okay. So what I had to catch myself doing was making them mean something about me and instead say, wait a minute, I don't need to make these mean anything about me. I just need to let me be curious about them and look for the patterns that I can learn from. So I was like, I'm going to start looking at my bank account way more often because I want to have an intimate relationship with my money and I want it to be positive. And I'm going to look for anything that can be positive, but also I'm going to look back at the last year. I'm going to look back at what worked. I'm going to look back at I'm going to look for patterns. What did I make every single month? What did I spend every single month? And I'm not going to make it mean anything about me. I'm just going to be curious about, hey, what was my energetic minimum or maximum? How did I see that number change throughout the year? What was my spending energetic match, right? How much was I spending on average, right? Looking at these kinds of things and just being curious and going, that's super interesting. Maybe there's something to work through there. Like, that's super interesting. I wonder why that was happening, right? Just being curious. I can do the same thing with Instagram. Let's look back at my numbers over the last year. Let's look at what my energetic minimum or maximum was to receive likes, to receive support, to have people love me for me, right? What was my minimum for rejection, right? What was my minimum for people not liking my stuff? And again, it's just information to show you stories that you are running through your head that are controlling the show. And so the more we can just look at that information so that we can get to know ourselves, so that we can get to know the stories that are there, the more we can become aware of what's there. And then we get to go, oh, that's super interesting. I didn't know that. Now I know that. Now I get to change it. Now I get to do something different. Okay. So stop avoiding your numbers, look at them, and just get to know yourself. How can you get to know yourself through those numbers? Number two, decide what makes you different. This one's so hard for women, especially like me, who are an Enneagram 7 and we're multi-passionate. We want to do everything. I found myself looking at everybody going, they have a thing. They have one thing that's their thing that they're known for. And I don't have one because I feel like I do multiple things in my coaching and my business. And so what's my thing? What's my thing? What's my thing? And I really chewed on this. And instead of being frustrated by it, I was just mulling it over in my mind because I knew if I just continued to mull it over, something would come through. And eventually something did come through. And I was like, oh my God, my thing is that I do these 3 things in coaching women that most coaches do not do. Most coaches do not have the expertise to mix these 3 things in their coaching of their clients. And for me, that's the inner child healing and work, plus it's breath work and body work to release trauma so that your body becomes in alignment. And also the strategy, especially Instagram knowledge and strategy for your business. That's my expertise. There's like no other coaches out there that can combine all three of those things. And for me, in my mind, those are the three most important things. And you need them all working together in order to have success. So I was like, oh my God, that's my thing. And that's what I should start talking about. So decide to have a thing that you talk about that's going to be your thing that makes you different. And it doesn't mean that you're stuck to it forever. It doesn't mean that you're married to it forever. But if you don't pick a thing to be associated with, people will know you for nothing, right? They'll associate you with like anything and everything, which is essentially nothing. So just decide, mull it over, think about it, and look for, what do I do differently? What do I do differently than anybody else out there? What is my angle? Daily meditation and visualization. I just shared on the podcast a couple weeks ago a meditation. I walked you guys through a meditation that I do that's similar to what I do every single day as far as connecting with my heart, my intuition, and visualizing what I want. I had stopped doing that. And so I got back into doing that every single morning, non-negotiable, because I realized the more I can emotionally and mentally connect to that picture of what I want, the more I will bring that to me, the more I will be available for that, regardless of what I'm doing. And the more it gives me that vision, right? It gives me that purpose. I'm like, oh, yeah, I do know what I'm actually going for. So I started doing that every single day. Daily journal prompts that I got from Lori Harder. I was listening to her podcast and she shared some journal prompts that she was doing every single day. And I love them because it makes journaling really easy and simple and structured. So I will share them with you. My first journal prompt is a moment from yesterday that I'm super grateful for. I just think about yesterday. What did I do? What did I experience? What's one moment I'm really, really grateful for? And I write it down because I want to remember those things. And I want to feel gratitude for my life and what's happening. Number two, I say, I'm manifesting today, or like, I want to manifest today. And I write down one thing I want to manifest today. And then I write down, I'm manifesting in my business. And I write down like the big picture, like the big thing, the big dream that if I knew it would happen no matter what, that I would actually admit that I want out loud, right? And I write it from the standpoint of it already having happened. Like, oh my God, it actually happened and it was so much easier. And like, this is what it was like when it happened. And right. And I just really get into that. And that kind of takes me back to my meditation, my visualization. I get to feel it all over again. I get to see it in my head. I get to basically capture that mental picture in my head, which is very powerful because whatever pictures we give our brain to look for, they will try to go look for proof for those. I actually noticed that I had fear and resistance around claiming what I wanted to manifest that day. Like there were things that I was like, I want to manifest this. And then I was like, no, I should pick something that like I know will happen. Because there was this part of me that was like, oh, I shouldn't actually like ask for that. I shouldn't actually like say I'm going to manifest that because what if it doesn't happen? So pay attention. Notice if the resistance comes up for you, if the fear comes up for you. Again, it's normal. But also it points to a lack of belief that you can have what you want, which is a worthiness issue. It also shows attachment to that thing because you're making it mean something about you, and you're making it mean something about you if it doesn't happen, and you're making it mean something about what's possible for you if it doesn't happen, right? Both of those will kill your desires and you actually voicing or allowing them. You get to break this pattern by asking, despite the fear, and not making it mean anything about you if it doesn't happen, and by looking for ways to give yourself your desires. Like look for ways now that you can start giving yourself what you want and showing that little girl that she is worthy of getting what she wants and trusting yourself with what you want. Masculine structure to support the feminine was my next tip, my next thing that I implemented, which is doing my daily things like getting up, doing my journaling, doing my meditation, choosing to exercise, even though I haven't totally felt like it most days, choosing to shower and get ready for the day, even though, again, being pregnant and being tired, I would love to be in jammies in bed all day, right? If you're watching this on YouTube, I'm not ready right now because I'm about to go get a facial. But choosing to continue to do these things because I know if I do them, I will actually feel better. Right. So forcing myself to do these things, scheduling coffees with girlfriends, scheduling lunches, going to networking events, even if I didn't feel like it, even if I didn't have a reason for being there, it was like, I'm just going to force myself to get out of the house. I'm going to force myself to go do these things. Um, Forcing myself to be sociable. It's a real thing. And then intentional consumption. Intentional consumption is the term that I use because when you are consuming too much and you are consuming without intention, you will cloud your vision, you will cloud your voice, you will cloud your desires, and you will become very confused. So you have to be very careful about what you are consuming. So I made sure I was consuming only things that were going to help me right now in my funk. And that was typically learning from people that aren't doing what I'm doing. They're nowhere close, right? Like I was learning from someone that teaches about money. I don't teach about money. That's not like my topic that I talk about. So I was learning from them. And then I decided to listen to Lori, a couple of her podcasts just for like inspiration on things, but she's not coaching. She's not doing like what I'm doing. Right. And now I'm listening to a book. I'm listening to Sarah Blakely's story about building Spanx. Right. So I'm being very intentional with things that will inspire me, things that will remind me that big things are possible, things that will give me little tips to get out of my funk, right? And get better or get to feeling better. But they're not someone that's in my coaching space where then I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, they're doing this. I should do it too. Oh my gosh, they're doing this. They're doing it so much better than me. Oh my gosh, right? That listening to people in your space confuses you, it clouds you, it makes you compare. Like, don't follow them, don't listen to their stuff. Be very intentional with what you're consuming. And last but not least, I stopped shoulding on my desires. I didn't even notice that I was doing this, but I was doing this like, you want that? Well, you should do it this way. Well, you should do it like her. Well, you should be like her. And I was like shoulding on what I actually wanted. So, for example, if you're watching YouTube, you see I have these beautiful long extensions that I just got, which I'm very excited about. And there was part of me that really, really was missing long hair and wanting long hair. But in the last year, I somehow took on this like whole, you should be natural because that's better. And I love being natural, right? I've totally done it. I'm not wearing eyelash extensions anymore. I have my own eyelashes. But there was this part of me that was like, I've always played with extensions. Like that's who I am because I'm very girly. I love to mix it up. I love to play with hair. I love to do different things. But I had been watching all these other people like go natural and like grow their own hair out. And so I had taken on this like, oh, you should, if you want to be like them, if you want to be better, if you want to be quote unquote real, if you want to be like whatever, is this internal dialogue going on in my head that was like, you should do it this way, even though you want that. And then when I finally was like, no, I just want that and I'm going to do it. Oh, there was another voice playing in my head that was like, well, you should save that money. You should invest that money. You shouldn't be spending it on those things. Like that's frivolous. You should be smarter with your money. Right. And when I just decided, like, no, I get to have that if I want that. And that doesn't make me bad with money. That doesn't make me a bad person. That doesn't make me any less real. And that doesn't mean that I can't change my mind in a month if I want to. That all of a sudden that like unlocked something in me that connected me back to my desires, that connected me back to, oh my gosh, I do know what I want. Oh my gosh, I do know who I am. Like I am reconnected to my confidence, my power, because it was basically letting me be me and letting me follow those desires and letting me do what I want and what I want and have what I want. And guess what? That is what led me here in the first place. I hired a coach because I wanted to, because my desires were so strong, because I was like, that is what I have to have. Like, I want that. I don't care how the money looks, right? Or how I'm being with money. That's what led me to starting a business. It was like, I want that. I don't care what that means. That's what I want. That's what literally has created my life today from being what it was a few years ago, is following my desires and honoring them instead of saying, no, you should want what other people want. No, you should do it the way other people are doing it. No, you should listen and do it better or do it smarter, or that's not okay. Right. So, following that and realizing where I was shooting on my desires reconnected me back to my power, back to my desires. And it also showed my little girl inside, my inner little girl, that her desires matter and that she gets to have what she wants and she's okay for wanting what she wants, instead of the way she felt as a child, which was like her mom was sitting there being like, no, you shouldn't want that. Like, no, you should do it this way. No, you shouldn't do that. Like, no, you should be like this. Right. Constantly like telling her that who she was and what she wanted wasn't enough. And when we do that to ourselves, that's when we get in that uber feminine, I don't know who I am and I don't know where I'm going and I'm lost person, right? Because we're not trusting ourselves. We're not trusting what we want. We're not trusting who we are. We're not trusting what we feel drawn to. And instead, we're overthinking it and going, I need to make sure that whatever I'm doing is totally right. And nobody can point out how it's wrong. And I'm fitting everybody's mold and I'm fitting everybody's box and blah, 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 blah. And it just infers a huge lack of trust with yourself. And so it makes you not be bold in who you are and what you want and where you're going. And just leaning into those hits, no matter how weird they are, no matter how off the beaten path they are, no matter how outside the box they are. So those are my tips for you today in helping you if you are in a season of rebirth and up leveling, if you're in a season of falling away, or if you're just wanting some things to help you structure your masculine and your feminine so that you can feel excited and happy and like you are setting goals and you are actually moving the needle forward and you're not just lost in the feminine land of being all over the place. I hope this helped you. If you love it, feel free to take a screenshot, tag me on Instagram. Would love to hear from you. Love to hear what your takeaway was. And share this with a friend. There are so many women out there that don't understand the masculine and feminine, that are totally shooting on their desires, that are feeling like they don't know how to show up in a healthy way with both. And so they could use this episode. All right. I will see you guys back on the show. Go have a beautiful day.